you guys hear me? All right, you ready to rock? Okay, slightly. Okay, that's okay. Thanks for being here. Honored to share the stage here with you for a little bit today. As I said, I've been a musician for a little over 30 years, last 15 years specifically as a drummer in the band Unleashed. Has anybody seen the band Unleashed? Well, thank you. Thank you. So definitely excited to be here. When Luann and Sarah had reached out about this, I couldn't say yes fast enough. So excited to share some stories today, and hopefully that resonates with some of you. So a few years ago, I started writing down some ideas around some of these kind of impactful, profound things that were happening in the music with Unleashed, and I started noticing some of those things were bleeding into the professional life. So I started writing them down with the guidance of my wife, Heather, so appreciative of that. And over the last couple of years, I've had a few opportunities to kind of share some of these stories. So I'm going to do that with you today. I got one question to start off here, though. How many musicians do we have in the room today? Got one, two? Or have you played an instrument before? There we go. All right, so we got some rockers in the house. All right, so my goal today is simple. I'm going to hopefully help you feel like a rock star and give you some things to think about to feel like a rock star. I'm going to do this with three different things. I'm going to talk a little bit about leaning into connection, a little bit about being change ready, and we have a fun little activity at the end to feel like a rock star. So I got about 25 minutes-ish, so I'm going to rip right into this. That being said, are you guys ready to rock? Woohoo! I feel like I should have some like Bon Jovi playing right now or something. Okay, leaning into connection, being nice to the sound guy. I'm going to say this with the sound guys right over here. I'm going to be super nice to you guys. For me, connection is where it's at. A lot of the really cool things that have happened with our band and professionally over the years is all about connection, and it's the underlying thing that really makes that magic happen. So I've got a really random trivia question here. How many Guns N' Roses fans do we have here? Ooh, that's it? Okay, we're gonna have to work on that. Anybody tell me who the singer of Guns N' Roses is? Was Axl Rose, thank you. What about the guitar player? Slash, excellent. See, we got some bands in the house. What about the drummer? The coolest guy in the band. Anybody tell me that one? Who said that? Yes, thank you, Steven Adler. So when Guns N' Roses came on the scene in kind of the late 80s, kind of changed the world, you would say. I would say music was never the same after that. Steven Adler is the reason I'm on stage here, one of the reasons I'm on stage here today, and that's why I started playing drums. So I've got a little bit of a love thing for him. Anybody tell me who the sound guy is? Okay, that's kind of a trick question. They've had multiple sound guys. But the sound guy, the most important person in the room that nobody usually knows who they are unless something goes wrong. Does that resonate with anybody? So if you Google what it takes to be a sound guy or what some of the requirements are, you're going to find things like, actually ChatGPT, you're going to find things like ability to work under crazy stress, intense moments, large audiences, ability to work with complex equipment and be a problem solver, and oh, by the way, your customer has high demands and expectations. So I was like, is this working in IT? It sounds like a job description for IT, and my background initially, earlier in my career, was in IT, so it spoke well to me there. We're going to come back to that here in just a little bit, but I want to share a story from our band, our early band days. So, any of the folks that raised their hand to being a musician, are you in a band as well? Or have you been in a band? Anybody brave enough to raise their hand? Okay. Well, when we first started the band, I can tell you it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time, energy. You have to be vulnerable. You have to go out there and like kind of cold call to get gigs. The first couple years, we were doing a lot of that. And in 2012, we had an opportunity of a lifetime to open for one of our heroes, Sebastian Bach. Anybody tell me what band Sebastian Bach used to play in? Woo, there we go. And so it was at the venue. If you've ever been to the venue, it was an amazing place to play and see a show. And we were terrified at the same time. We were so excited. I mean, this had the ability to really make or break us as a band. And so as we're getting ready for the gig and to rock this thing, nerves are running high. We're all, I mean, to be quite frank, we were kind of shitting our pants about the gig, but super excited about it. And that day, I mean, we're loading in, everything's hectic, there's stuff happening on the stage, things are happening, things aren't going right. We had the opportunity to meet the band that Sebastian was playing with, and Sebastian, he's super cool, super tall, and very intimidating. But he's, fist bumping us, and hey, can't wait to play with you guys, and all of this. I mean, it was a dream come true, right? And so we were super excited, but there was some problems that they were having with some of the equipment on stage. And so they were doing sound check, and we're watching the time kind of tick down. If you ever look at a concert ticket and it says the doors open at a certain time, that's when sound check and everything has to be done by. So if the doors open at 6, you got to have your stuff done by 5:59 or earlier. And they're going back and forth on stage. There's a lot of stress. Again, the sound guy has to be able to work with a lot of stressful situations, right? And complex problem solving. So the sound guy is getting yelled at. They're kind of working through a few different iterations of this thing. We don't know what's happening, and we're really getting nervous now. Because if you've ever done a big gig like this, it's like getting your audio, video, whatever. There's always going to be something that happens. But if you don't get to do sound check as a musician, it's like walking on stage naked. I mean, that might sound dramatic, but that's how we felt about it. It could literally make or break your gig. Well, 5:59 comes around, we don't get a sound check, and we're just looking at each other like, oh my God, what's gonna happen here? And I'll never forget the moment. The sound guy, his name is Butter. I don't know if anybody knows Butter from this area, but he's an amazing sound guy. This was the first time we'd ever worked with him, so I didn't really know his style, but he kind of took us. He could tell we were freaking out. He was kind of freaking out because he had just gotten yelled at for 2 hours. And he kind of took us aside and he was like, hey, I got you guys. I'm gonna get you dialed in immediately as soon as I can, and I'm gonna make sure that you sound really, really good. So just trust me. And we're like, whew, okay. So we're starting to feel like a little better. But I'll tell you what, as the drummer, the first song that we were playing was a song called Stand Up and Shout by Steel Dragon. And I was the one hitting the first, things. There's like 2,500 people at this gig, and I'm just like, is this gonna sound like crap? What's gonna happen? So anyways, never forget the moment that we went up on stage, dark. I can see, if you can see the soundboard that I have up here on the slide, you can see Butter in the middle of the crowd, and he's lit up like, it's like a Halloween movie or something. Like his light is just lit up, and his face is there, and he's like, let's go. And we ripped into it, and that was the beginning of a really, really cool journey for the band. I mean, thankfully it worked out for us, but we had a lot of trust in that process. And I'll tell you what, the journey that we've had since then and the things that we've learned has been amazing. And so, we were being nice to the sound guy in the moment, partially because I like to think that we're just kind of nice guys. But it really, that whole thing like changed me. It changed us as a band. We started doubling down on the sound guy thing after that. Like, what can we do to be great to work with, and how can we make sure that we want people to, the unknown people in the background making the magic happen, like be ambassadors for us. And so I kind of went on this little spiritual journey of like, I don't know, spiritual might be dramatic, but like asking questions to sound guys. So, what fills your bucket? What's the best gig you've ever done? Like, why do you do this? Why do you do this crazy profession? And I just want to share a couple of these things because I want the group here to kind of think through. I mean, I feel like I've got a lot of sound guys in the room just thinking through like IT and thinking through some of the things I had shared about what it takes to be a sound guy. So there's one thing to be nice to the sound guy, but how do you like double down on that, and what do you do? And so in my quest to find this out, there's two key things that I've found throughout all these conversations with sound guys over the past 12 years, and one of them is public praise. So anybody know, pardon my awesome PowerPoint skills here, but you can barely see the singer. Does anybody know who that singer is? You know, it kind of looks like the Puddle of Mud guy. It kind of looks like him. It's Dierks Bentley. Any Dierks fans? So anyways, I mean, I've interviewed like 40 sound guys at this point. So some of these sound guys are like, stop asking me questions about what we're doing. But one particular sound guy had shared the story of he was on tour with Dierks for 3 weeks. And he said he had this ability he was great to work with, but during a show he would stop and he would do public praise for, and give them recognition for the work that they were doing. And I'll tell you what, this guy lit up like a Christmas tree when he talked about this story. And he just said he'd call him out by name. And I'm pretty sure that guy's going to tell his kids about that story, the kids' the story. It's going to be a generational type thing. But I've had similar conversations with other sound guys about similar stories. So think about that from a working perspective too. I think it bleeds right over into the work that we do and the ability to give public praise. Now, not everybody likes public praise, but there might be an opportunity in your next meeting, next drive-by, next time you see somebody in person to just give them a shout out of some of the work that they're doing. I'm going to real time this mofo. Livewire. Did Kent leave? I saw him here earlier. Oh, okay. So Unleashed has had the opportunity to work with these guys multiple times, some of the bigger shows that we've been able to do, and I can tell you that they're absolutely fantastic. I assume that today has been going pretty good. But also, we work with Disrupt HR, and we have been partners with you for the past, I think, 9 years on this thing. A lot of work. They're fantastic to work with. They always ask what they can do to be better. So thank you for kicking ass. Maybe give them a high. Let's do this. See, now, didn't that feel good? It felt good for me. The next thing is sitting with them. Anybody tell who this band is? Whitesnake? Nope. Ooh, who said that? REO? REO Speedwagon. REO Speedwagon is a great band. So one of the recent conversations, again, multiple sound guys have said something around something to the effect of sitting with them. But he said that they got done working with REO Speedwagon. I think it was at Moondance, which this picture is from, but it's not the same, I don't think, the same time. But they got done. The sound guys and the production crew went in the back to do their dinner thing. And Kevin Cronin, the singer, and the band actually came into their room and sat down with them, ate with them, asked them questions, talked to them about their families. And this guy was like, nobody's ever done that before. And he lit up like a Christmas tree, and he was super excited about that. So think about that. So for leaders in the room, you don't even have to have a leader in your title. We're all leaders in some way, shape, or form. But think about being intentional about going and making time to be with people and ask them questions and listening. All right, so I feel like that got a little heavy. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. Talk about being change ready and learning Scotty Doesn't Know. Does anybody know the song Scotty Doesn't Know? Raise your hand. This is a phenomenon that I have found out. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this story. This kind of fuzzy picture, this guy's name's Cito. He plays in a band called Uptown. It was Uptown Live at the time. And 10 years ago, this guy and me, our paths crossed. He called me on a Wednesday night, got my number from a friend, needed a fill-in drummer for that weekend at the Pickled Parrot. Anybody ever been to the Pickled Parrot? Holy crap, what a good time that place is, or was. But it was wild. I'd always wanted to play there. Looking at the time, I'm like, I don't have a lot of time to... They played a completely different set list than we did on Unleashed. Unleashed was 80s hair rock. These guys were kind of a variety band. But I was like, this seems like it could be really fun. So we talked through logistics. He was going to get me the set list that night, and I was going to see what I could pull off. And so Thursday night comes around. I'm feeling about 60 to 70% there. I call Cito, and I'm like, tell him where I'm at. And we're talking through cues and stuff that we can do. because I knew there was no way I could learn all these songs. And I'm just like, do this when we're going to end and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and oh, by the way, there's this one song on here. It's called Scotty. I'm like, I don't know what that's all about. Is that a typo? And he's like, that's Scotty Doesn't Know. And I'm like, okay. He goes, you don't know Scotty Doesn't Know? And I'm like, no, I don't know Scotty Doesn't Know. And it's like, dude, where's my car? We're just going back and forth like, dude, no, I don't know this. But he goes, dude, if we don't play Scotty Doesn't Know, sometime between the second and third set, at the Pickled Parrot, there's going to be a riot. I'm like, okay, are you messing with me right now? And he's like, no, I'm not messing with you. So please learn it. He literally sent me the file, which was a video. And the reason he sent me the video is because the song is actually from a movie called Euro Trip. And so the video, I would say go watch this. Don't watch it with your kids. It's maybe a little inappropriate. But the song is super catchy. So that Thursday night, I had to listen to this thing like 10 times. Our youngest son, Adam, happened to be around me. She probably shouldn't have been letting him listen to it. He was like 6 at the time. But he's even jumping around the room going, don't tell Scotty, because Scotty doesn't know. If you know the song, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so I was feeling fired up with this. Friday comes around. Sure enough, the Pickle Parrot at like 11 o'clock went from 5 to like 11 in terms of like intensity levels and the partiness factor. Super fun place to play. And we're doing like a beverage break between songs, and all of a sudden I start hearing, Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know. And people are like chanting this and clapping. Has anybody ever experienced that anywhere with this song? So you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is crazy. And so we go into the song, and it was one of the most, I mean, that is a good word for the word spiritual. That was a spiritual moment. Sharing this thing with a couple hundred people who are screaming at the top of their lungs, jumping around like lunatics, for Scotty Doesn't Know. And so I know this story on some levels might seem a little silly, but I will tell you that changed me. And think about that at work. I mean, I know that this had an impact on me when thinking work projects. When's the last time you were asked to do something that maybe was outside of your job description or whatever else? I mean, when Cito called me or when I talked to him on Thursday night, I had already spent all the expendable time I had learning what I could learn, and then he's here asking me to learn this other song. And so my takeaway for you from this story would be to the next time you're asked to do something, as silly as it might sound, I would say yes and figure it out, because it might be one of the coolest things that you ever do. All right, so I've got a crew that's going to help me with something here. They're going to hand out some drumsticks. I like how this looks. We have a bunch of people walking in here with drumsticks. It's like, what is happening? Okay, so I can tell you right now, some of the funnest gigs I've ever done are like street dances and things like that. You get communities of people together, kids, grandparents, it doesn't matter who it is. But what I will tell you is that people love drumsticks. They love getting drumsticks, and it's a huge bucket filler to watch kids and grandparents and just people just have the time of their lives with these things. So, once everybody has a drumstick, I'm going to show you how to twirl the drumstick, because there's nothing more rock star. See, this guy's already better than me. So I'm going to wait. Okay, now don't start hitting people or doing anything crazy with these things. Nice. Awesome. All right. Luann, I'm going to look to you. You give me a thumbs up when you think everybody's got one. We're close? We're good? Okay. So we're going to keep this simple. Anybody know who the drummer is here? I wish I had like candy that I could throw out. Who? Tommy Lee? Yeah, that is Mr. Tommy Lee. He is a fantastic drummer. Mr. Pam Anderson, yes. All right, so we got 4 simple steps to learning a drumstick. There are a few different ways you control a drumstick. I'm going to show you the most basic way. This is how I do it most of the time. So everybody has their stick in one hand? Okay. First thing we're going to do is hold up your dominant hand with your palm facing you. I'm right-handed, so I've got my palm facing me. You guys all got that? This guy's already doing special tricks. It's okay. Okay, now we're going to take that drumstick and put the drumstick between your index and your middle finger. There we go. Now, we're going to start moving it back and forth. Now, I'm holding a couple things here, so this is weird, but you can use your hand if you need to, your other hand, to kind of reinforce it. Here we go. And just get comfortable with it. It feels good, right? Does that feel good? And then you just kind of speed up, right? And I can tell you if you switch your palm, it's kind of an optical illusion, right? Like it kind of looks like I'm going super fast, but I'm not. So how does that feel for everybody? Okay, so now I don't know if is that song gonna work if we do this? So that song that I shared that we did at the fateful night that we played with Sebastian Bach that we started with without the sound check, I can tell you that playing that song makes me feel like a rock star and it makes our band feel like a rock star. So you guys gonna go ahead and start that? Oh, I got it. Hey. I control it. Okay, everybody know this song? Yeah. Okay, maybe you'll recognize it in a second, but everybody twirl their sticks. Let's get them high up in the air. Does that feel? Are you feeling a little bit like a rock star right now? Or am I failing you? Okay. Also, it helps with your other hand to do this while you're doing that. So you just take your other hand. Thank you. Okay. All right. Ooh, I stop it too. That is really cool. Thank you. Okay, so thank you. Did that feel good? Okay, so what I would ask you to do is that when you go back to your office, your meeting maybe not this afternoon. Don't cause chaos with these drumsticks this afternoon. But the next time you're having kind of a rock star moment, have that stick with you and twirl it. I promise you it'll feel really good. So my call to action for you today is to lean into connection and to be nice to the sound guy. Be change ready and learn Scotty Doesn't Know. If you don't know Scotty Doesn't Know, go listen to it. And I hope you enjoy it. And when you want to feel like a rock star, twirl that stick. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay, now I'm wrapping up a couple minutes early here, so I'm happy to give a few minutes back for everyone. But I love connection. It's a bucket filler. So if you found any of this interesting, you want to share stories of when you feel like a rock star, if you want to dive into any of these things deeper, take a scan of that, connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email, and I'll be more than happy to actually continue the conversation. So thank you again for having me, and thanks Livewire. And yeah, happy to be here. Thanks, everyone.
Great job, man. Yeah.